and now we're going to talk about married filing jointly. Married filing jointly is just the opposite of single. This is when you're legally married by 1159 on December 31st, then you are going to be treated as being married for the entire year. Married filing jointly is good because you get a much higher deduction, a much higher standard deduction. And so that's why this is preferable to single and preferable to married filing separately, which we'll talk about next. Even if you and your spouse don't live together, as long as you're legally married, then you can go ahead and file a joint tax return. This is pretty common for people in the military and other things. That I've seen lots of places where somebody worked in California, but their spouse was in Texas. Not that uncommon, but they still get to file a joint tax return. State law determines whether you are legally married or not. So you have to be legally married for this to count. Common law marriages do count. This is where it's a little bit more casual of a marriage. As long as you're living together and holding each other out as husband and wife, then you are generally considered common law marriages. As long as you do that for a certain amount of time. Again, you'd have to look at your state law to determine what a common law marriage is. But as long as you're legally married, then you can file married filing jointly. One of the downsides to married filing jointly is this right here. The IRS can pursue you for any money you owe them either jointly together or separately. And that's the bad thing. If you and your spouse file a joint tax return and you owe a lot of money and then your spouse disappears, guess who the IRS is going to come after? They don't care that it was their money or their problem that created this big tax liability. They're going to come after you by yourself because they can't find your spouse. So they're going to come after you by yourself and demand all this money. Now, they have made some improvements to that over the last few years. There is an innocent spouse relief and an injured spouse relief that can help alleviate some of those issues that arise from a spouse disappearing and leaving you holding the bag. Married filing jointly is much more preferable to married filing separately. One of the big things is for some reason, the IRS just hates married filing separately, and they will quite frequently just disallow credits and deductions just because you're married filing separately. So it'll say you qualify for $1,000 if you're single or married filing jointly. Married filing separately qualify for $0. So they just hate married filing separately, and they punish you pretty hard. So it's best if you can file jointly to do it, but then you got to worry about the whole shady spouse thing again.